Hello, I'm the face behind Lavender Testimonies, and this week we have a new story for you. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. God bless you and have a great week.
I grew up in a home where my parents, were Christian, so we would always go to church. My mom, she was a servant. I'd say. I remember on Saturday mornings we would go to church early to clean it up, just to help make the church nice. Anytime I see my mom doing something for the church, she's cooking for them or preparing, she would paint. My mom did a lot. I'm basically saying that when I grew up with Christ, I saw it in my family. I saw it in my household. With my father, it was just him always putting the word on us. He was make sure you're reading your word. He would a few years when I was in middle school, he would send me verses every day to make sure that I read them and ask about them. So I would say that's my family wise about it. For me, I didn't really like church. I was just going there because, as I just told you, my family was very focused on it. They'd make us go a lot. And for me, I was just sleepy most of the time. I would try to go out of the sanctuary or somewhere just to hang out with my friends. And I never really had a personal connection to it. I would just see my mom, praying, or we would go to overnight service where I would just hear her praying for all of us. And I didn't understand the seriousness of it. I just thought, well, I'm here. So I'd probably say that's what it was like before. So I met Christ also through my family, but it wasn't from my mother or my father. It was actually through my sister, Gloria. Gloria is my older sister, and there was a time when she was in college where she had this is when I would say I noticed that she became very fervent for God. She became on fire. She was praying. She reminded me of my mom. She was going to church and doing all these things. And she told me about a very specific convention that was happening soon, where she was Matthew, you must go. She was she said, by force, by fire, I will meet God. I will meet Christ. I have to go. And it wasn't even just the convention itself that Gloria was pushing for, but she wanted to be a change. She wanted there to be a change in our family and how I treat God, how I serve Him. So I was okay, let's go. I went there and, a whole bunch of people, just a typical convention, lots of nice worship, lots of nice praise. I was just there and I was well, God, this is pretty cool. And when I saw all of the young people there, they were also taking it very seriously. It's they were they really enjoyed being in church. That's not something I've seen a lot. Young people my age are oh, let's go. They were running up there, dancing. I was whoa, this is really cool. And there was a time for a prayer call. And during this prayer call, I decided to myself that, well, Lord, if you are true, if you are real, I've heard in all of these stories and things before, then Lord, I want to serve you. I made a very specific prayer where I said, Lord, I've seen all the cool things in the Bible. I've seen Moses, I've seen Abraham, all of these great men of God do great things for the kingdom. I said, Lord, let me also be used as a servant. I asked Lord to make me a vessel to do all of those cool things as well. And it was that time I was on my knees and I gave my life to Christ. I accepted Him in my heart. And I said, Lord, if you're real, then let it be so. Use me as a vessel. And I didn't hear anything, but I did see heaven. I looked up and I saw heaven open before me. And when I saw heaven, I saw God's throne. And there's not much I can do to really explain it to you, but when you think about all of the testimonies that people have said, or how glorious, how the light is different, how the presence, the pressure, it's all different, it's all mighty, it's all glorious. That's really what heaven looks like. It's really just like how people describe it. It's cool. It's so cool. And that would be the first time that I saw heaven. God didn't say anything to me at that moment, but I did see it, and I was oh, it's real. I would say that's when I fully gave my life to Christ and I started, serving him and walking. So some turning points for my faith would have been situations where I doubted God, and then God turned it around to really teach me. One of those moments would also be through my sister Gloria. There is a time where we were driving and the car broke down. All right, the car was not working. I don't think we were like in a parking lot. We were in a parking lot somewhere. And I was like, Gloria, it's not going to work. Like, we can't do anything. We can't fix it. We're not handymen. But Gloria was like, I'm going to pray over this car. And I doubted Gloria completely. I was like, there's no way you're about to just pray over the car and you think it's going to work. She was like, Matthew, I am very serious. You need to pray. Like, she was like, I'm going to pray over this car and it's going to work. She was like, try my God and you will see. All right. She said something along those lines of like really showing me that once she prays for this car, it's going to start. She like lays her hands, I think like on the steering wheel, like lays her hand on the steering wheel and just like starts crying out to God. She starts pouring it out. She said, Lord, let this car start. And like for him, like she just started praying. She started praying, and I think she also used me. She was like to show him, like to also show me, like how great God is, that like He can move. And then Gloria finished the prayer, and she turned that ignition. Car turned back on, and it was that day that I told her, I was like, oh, I will never doubt you and God again. Like, I won't doubt your prayers in this way. Because for me, I've heard those stories. someone starts praying, and then boom, a miracle happens. But for me, that was a real life miracle. The car was not working. There was no lights, there was no power. But my sister said, try my God. And she prayed over that car and it worked. And for me, my personal walk with God, my personal faith with Him, I would say is probably a little different than most people. Just how I explained, I saw heaven, I began to see more things. I began to see in the spirit. I had encounters where I would see people's armor, like, the armor of God that we read about in the Bible. I could see it spiritually as I'm like looking in the physical realm. I could see demons, I could see angels, and it was honestly very overwhelming at first. It was pretty scary, and it was only by the grace of God and Holy Spirit to really help me through those times. There's been times where it'd be overnight and I'd have a really bad dream and the Lord would tell me, to be at peace and to know that He is there. Those kinds of moments have really helped me in my faith. I guess another big turning point would also be when my father passed away. When my father passed away, there was a time when he was in the hospital, and my siblings and my family, we were all praying very hard that the Lord will deliver him. But the Lord kept showing me that my father would not make it. He was showing me that my father's time has passed. And for me, this was a very big trial for my faith, because I'm like, well, if everyone in my family is praying really hard that my father will be saved. They're using those verses that, the Lord will heal him. They'll bring him back. And then I just keep receiving the same thing from the Lord, that my father will pass, and to know that He is with me, to know that God is comforting my heart for the loss that I'm about to receive. And this is very troubling for me, because I'm the youngest in the family. I'm the little brother. So if I'm telling my older brother, my sister, my mom, hey guys, all the prayers we're praying right now, it's not what God is telling me. That's not what the Lord has for us. It was after my dad's funeral that I saw heaven once again, and I saw my father standing next to Jesus Christ in heaven. And that was something that, really warmed my heart and gave me comfort about what the Lord was telling me, that the Lord had him, that the Lord was going to be with him, that He took him for His will, that it was His timing. And I've heard many stories of other people in faith who will tell me, well, I prayed for this person in my life, I interceded for this person in my life, yet God still took them. And, for me, I had that same encounter. I can see visions, I can see angels, by God's grace, I can do all those things. I've been able to give prophecies to people. But when I asked the Lord, save my father, my father could not be saved. And I think this was a moment for me to really understand how much more greater God is than I. That I cannot think above what God has already planned. That just because I desire this thing, just because I want to be with this person a little bit longer, it does not mean that's inherently in God's plan. And I'm not really sure how encouraging that is to someone out there, but I believe it's a reality of us understanding that God's thoughts are higher than our own. That if he is calling his own creation back onto him, who am I to deny him that? Who am I to say that, Lord, you cannot take your own creation away? That kind of interaction, that kind of situation really humbled me in my way of observing the Lord, of understanding him, because, he's still my father, right? God is still the one who has taught me. He's the one who has prepared me and kept me all this way. So in those moments, like when I had the moment with the car, or when I had the moment with even seeing demons and angels, the same way I trusted in God before, that's the same way he allowed me to trust in him in that very difficult and hard time. So I'd probably say those were my turning points, and also what I'd say to encourage someone, God is great.